All right, so now let's go ahead and combine like terms and distribute with fractions. So again, we start off with keep, change, change. So I see subtraction happening here, subtraction happening here. Now remember, this here is just a negative sign because it's happening with the parentheses right before it. So there's nothing being added or subtracted, it's just going to be negative. So let's go ahead and rewrite it with what we do need to change. So we have 3/4 times 4/5 x plus a -4. So remember, there's no negative sign here, so we need to make a negative. And then again, we're going to change our subtraction to plus. There's no negative sign on the 2/5, so it becomes -2/5 times a -1/2 x plus 5. So again, we've done keep, change, change. Now we need to look for the distributive property. So again, I see two sets of parentheses, so we're going to make sure that we do the distributive property for both of these. So we'll go ahead and set up our boxes. 3/4, 4/5 x plus a -4. And then we've got -2/5 times a -1/2 x plus 5. So if we go ahead and multiply, down here we're going to have 3/4 times 4/5. 3 times 4 gives us 12. 4 times 5 gives us 20. So 12 over 20x. Then we do 3/4 times a -4. Remember, we can put that over a 1 to not change its meaning. 3 times 4 gives us 12. Positive times a negative gives us a negative. And then 4 times 1 gives us 4. So that's our first set. Then over here, -2/5 times a -1/2. Negative times a negative. 2 times 1 gives us 2, which is positive. 5 times 2 gives us 10. So 2/10 x. And then -2/5 times 5. Again, we can put that over 1. And we get -10 over 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Negative times a positive is negative. 5 times 1 is 5. So -10 over 5. All right, let's clear some space here and go ahead and rewrite this so we can go ahead and start adding or combining our like terms. So we have 12 over 20x plus, because remember, everything's connected with addition, -12 over 4 plus, over here, our 2 over 10x plus our -10 over 5. All right, get rid of some of this so we have more room. Okay, so let's go ahead and put boxes around our variables and circles around our constants. Let's make our t-chart, variables and constants. So we have 12 over 20x, and we have 2 over 10x, and then we've got -12 over 4, and a -10 over 5. So let's look at our x terms. Can we add them together? Well, our bottom numbers, our denominators are not missing, but I know that 10 goes into 20, so I'm going to use 20 as my common denominator. So I'm going to have 12 over 20x still, and then I multiply the 10 times 2 to get 20, and what I do to the bottom, I got to do to the top as well. So we're going to have 4 over 20x. And when I do that, 12 plus 4 gives me 16, and the 20s just carry over, so we have 16 over 20x. Then let's look at our constants. So we have -12 over 4 plus a -10 over 5 So we don't have a common denominator, so let's start looking at common denominators. So our multiples are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. For 5, we've got 5, 10, 15, 20. So we're going to use 20. So we want to go ahead and multiply negative 12 over 4 times 5 over 5 to get our 20 on the bottom. And then negative 10 over 5 times 4 over 4 to get our 10 on the bottom. So negative 12 times 5 gives us a negative 60 over 20, plus negative 10 times 4 is negative 40, 5 times 4 is 20, so we get a negative 60 plus a negative 40 over 20, and when we add those together, we get a negative 100 over 20. All right, so now let's put together our variables and our constants, and we get 16 over 20x plus a negative 100 over 20. And I would take this as an answer, but we could also reduce it. So what goes into both 16 and 20? I can divide both of those by 4. So 16 divided by 4 and 20 divided by 4. So we get 4/5 x. And then 100 divided by 20. 20 goes into 100 5 times. So we would get 4/5 x plus a negative 5. So I would take either of those answers.